This particular story, and this is, I think, how you know you found the right story for yourself, that the more you work on it, the more you realize there is to understand. And this film, it's these two very different worlds, these two subcultures, the very wealthy money in America and wrestling. And wrestling as a subculture, there is an awareness that the sport itself is not as appreciated as nearly any other sport in this country, because there's no opportunity for reward in that category. The other more intrinsic categories of character, virtue, I think become that much more important.
We had John Gira, who came in as a technical advisor, who I trained with every single day, and then eventually, and rightfully so, he was honored with a producing credit. He became sort of my way into this community, which is very protective. Nobody from the wrestling community really wanted to be part of the movie in the beginning. John Gira came to me and said, listen, we're gonna hold some tryouts for local wrestlers for the movie, but a lot of Dave's friends are coming. Do you think you could come and meet them and hang out? And so I said, sure. And I showed up there, and there were all these old-timer great wrestlers. And one of Dave's coaches, Tadaki Hatai, he looked at me and he said, he's gonna play Dave. Bennett said, Mark, why don't you go suit up and we'll wrestle with these guys. I had no idea this was gonna happen. I got my suit on and we did this move that I'd been working on, and I do it once and I look up and Tadaki is like, He smiled. And after that day, all of a sudden they all started to come around and want to participate.
A total stranger approached me in a store and handed me an envelope that had information about this story, including newspaper clippings. It never happened to me before that I just was taken immediately by a story and was able to decide that this is something that I was going to do. It ended up being a long process. It took about 8 years.
The thing that kept it alive all these years is Bennett. He was just never going to let this one go, no matter what, no matter how long it took. It was just under his skin. He felt it, he saw it, and he wanted to realize it.
Excellent.
The first time I read it, I gotta be honest, I didn't really understand the film or the character, I don't think, in a really clear way.
About 8 years ago, I saw Channing Tatum in a great film, Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, and was just blown away. Before there was even a script, I just pitched him the story, and I think he was a little freaked out.
I was just like, why do you want to make this? This is like just, there's no resolve at the end, there's nothing.
Some years passed, and I bumped into him on the Sony lot. I invited him to a screening of Moneyball and said, you know, would you be interested in talking about Foxcatcher again, because we're finishing things up here, and that's something I still want to do. And I learned that it was good that a few years had gone by.
I don't know, I've come a long way, and like my understanding of why we make movies and tell stories and play parts.
I feel his love for me as an athlete and as a human being. My mother and father were divorced when I was 2 years old, and I spent a lifetime looking for a father, and I found one in the Golden Eagle of America, John DuPont.
Mark Schultz.
Channing was the first actor attached, and Steve was the next. I think it was important for whoever played this role to be surprising in this role, because the character himself is surprising. I mean, it just seemed very apparent very quickly that this is a kinky idea that could work.
It wasn't even anything I debated. I thought the script was great and dark and tragic and intriguing, and so I was in. A lot of it just had to do with working with Bennett. A lot of it was based on the fact that I loved his previous movies and wanted to work with him. You know, as long as he wanted me, I was in.
When I met Steve, he exhibited a real awareness and intelligence about this character, about the story, plus a desire and a commitment to do this. When an actor plays a role that is so other than what they're known for, it's important that you accept them within seconds. Most of that's just on Steve, but there's a significant weight put on the makeup as well.
The mandate with Steve was Steve Carell as a human being, as an actor, had to be unrecognizable. We couldn't see Steve Carell in the part. And I love a challenge, and I love to do makeups that don't look like makeups. You know, like if it doesn't look real to me in person, then it doesn't work for me. You know, we had some of the actual wrestling federation guys come, and they said, you know, it's scary how uncanny it is. Like, the only good thing is that he didn't smell like the real DuPont.
My manager at the time had told me about this wrestling movie. I was a wrestler in high school, and I knew who the Schultzes were and a little bit about the story.
I wanted Mark for the part, and I always knew that I wanted Mark for the part. And I also waited. I didn't want to be rejected by Mark Ruffalo because I had offered him the role of Perry Smith 3 times. Eventually, his manager had contacted me.
It's funny that he was afraid to ask. Well, he was afraid of getting rejected by me.
I think he feels like he reached out 3 times and got shut down and felt like he couldn't go through that again.
No, it was for Capote.
But he feels like he reached out 3 times for that character.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. So you make mistakes, and I'm glad he was open enough to reconsider me for this.
I mean, Ruffalo is a great actor, but he's also a great presence to have on the set. What he does to charge the atmosphere and what his presence means to the other actors. You know, he is a generous soul.
I wouldn't have been able to survive this film without him, period. Bennett, Steve, and myself were these black holes of energy, and just like everything was in. And Dave Schultz's character and Mark Ruffalo's almost responsibility in the movie was to keep just trying to drag everyone up out of the depths of misery.
We went through so much together, Channing and I, in the 7 months of rehearsing, and then the wrestling between each other. Channing and I are guys who are very competitive and who don't know how to do things slowly or at 50%. I lost my brother a few years ago, so this movie had a certain personal meaning to me. But Channing is quite a bit like him, and so we were competitive with each other, and we were also really like outside of our depth in trying to prepare for this movie. And somehow during that process, we became brothers.
I don't think there's anyone that can walk into a room and just... He feels like a warm hug.
Why is there nobody in the gym?
What do you mean?
It's almost noon. There's nobody in there.
Yeah, no, I gave the boys the morning off. We're gonna do a double later on the night.
Who's making these decisions?
I am.
I want your brother Dave here.
What are you talking about?
I want your brother Dave to come.
Carell and I didn't really have a conversation as Steve Carell and Chan ever.
It wasn't like we were, we'd made this master plan and decided that we wouldn't communicate, but we just naturally avoided one another.
I think I met Steve pretty much at Cannes for the first time when we were there, and I was like, oh, wow, you're actually a really nice guy. And he kind of looks at me and goes, ah, you're actually a really nice guy too, and we've been, you know, friends since then.
Bennett's a meditator. He comes from a tradition of meditation that's particularly confronting. I feel like the movie is a manifestation of that tradition that he's carried on.
He and I have a similar idea of like how we think a movie should sound. You want it to be grounded in what's quote unquote real, but sort of be very, very dialed in, if you will. When Mark Schultz sees the mother for the first time, it has to have this sort of enchanted, dreamy feel, but with still being very literal. There's this very, very quiet single piano note that comes in, and then hopefully before we realize it, we're looking through a pair of binoculars at an old woman and some horses, and there's no sound. Those sort of like seamless transitions to me are what it's all about. I love these kinds of films because the goal is to basically lull the audience into this sort of very, very meditative state. And once you've done that, then you can do anything.
The story is set on John DuPont's 800-acre estate, which is mansion country on the main line in Pennsylvania.
We went to Newtown, Pennsylvania and circled the Foxcatcher farms. The grandeur and the elegance of the whole DuPont estate really had to be sold. And, you know, he built himself a house in Newtown, Pennsylvania, modeled after James Madison's house in Montpelier. You know, the exterior of the DuPont mansion with big, large statues outside, and then like a Trans Am that one of the wrestlers had. And it was just really these two worlds colliding.
The day came when Nancy Schultz, who is Dave Schultz's widow, visited the set for the first time, and watching her see the location and the job that Jess Gonshore had done, the effect that it had on her, made us all feel that we had kind of gotten that right.
It was very surreal. I brought my daughter Danny, who is now 23, and we walked onto the set as it was in motion, and there, in what looked exactly like our backyard, was Dave and Nancy and Xander and Danny going through a scene. We're playing in the leaves, which was exactly brought to life.
I asked to speak with Nancy or meet with her, and we had lunch together, and I said, listen, I just want to let you know that I really want to get this right, and I really honor your family and Dave.
I feel like, you know, it was a little bit of pressure and a little bit of gift that I was left behind, you know, with Dave's memory, is to kind of guard it. I feel pretty strongly about being careful, you know, that I don't lend myself to something that isn't going to be respectful of him and his you know, memory.
And then I just started a relationship with her basically online, and I would send her email after email with just a list of questions. And it all sort of culminated with, I saw a picture of him, I was like, you know, what kind of glasses were those that Dave was wearing? And she offered me to wear his glasses in the movie. She said, I really need to get these back. But sure, although it could be seen as a very simple, to me it was a big sort of blessing that I got from her.
I don't know whether it's more challenging playing real people. There's certainly, I feel, a greater sense of responsibility to the material and to the person that you're trying to portray. In this case, to meet Nancy, to meet her children, you're kind of getting into territory that is investigatory, that is kind of, you feel almost like a historian.
She came out wearing something, I can't remember. She said, would you really wear this? I said, I didn't know it was going to be a movie, Sienna.
Which of you two do you think is better looking?
Oh, definitely me. Absolutely. I don't know why I didn't get sexiest man, you know, sexiest man alive.
I know why. Mark Schultz is maybe one of the most interesting people I've ever met. Like, he breaks my heart. At the same time, I'm completely in awe of him, and like, he's a hero to me, even though he's won gold medal. I don't know if he won 10. I don't know if he'd ever be completely happy. I don't know what that thing is that people search for. It is so complicated. You know, we definitely told our story, but we told it from real people and real lives.
Mark? Okay. Mark.
He's okay. It's easy to forget that you're talking about real people and that there's, at the end of the story, a really tragic event.
I mean, every day was heavy. I mean, every day. There was no, like, levity.
There was definitely a tone that Bennett set, and it wasn't a lighthearted tone, obviously. It was professional, but it was somber, because I think we all felt that we had a responsibility to the movie, to the story.
Making a film like this is such a personal experience for really everybody involved. It's a sobering story, and I like sobering stories. I like the films that peel back the guarded truths of people's lives and kind of in an unflinching way look at something that's bizarre, that's spectacular, and when you add it up, it strikes a chord.